Morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Good morning, my friends. How are you this lovely morning on a Friday? Woo!
Spring Friday.
Spring Friday. It's so cold.
No, it's beautiful.
No, I love the cool weather where you can wear a sweater. Look, we're wearing different shades of green.
We should coordinate this.
What do you think is a better shade of green? I like mine better. It's more, I like the army green.
Yeah.
You have more of a malted heathered green. A little bit lighter. Mine, I think you don't have Ashes to Rubies clothing on. Like, who are you? I tapped it. You're it.
I have nothing.
No, I felt like you actually do have something.
I was gonna say we're gonna have our spiritual connection. We're gonna take some time and center ourselves and do a reflection on a concept of recovery. I have this pacing dog below me.
We have a pacing dog with fingernails clicking, clacking. I'll just tell you a little bit of my morning routine. I get up in the morning, I do a little bit of exercise, I listen to a teaching, and then I try my best to go into like my own personal morning devotional where I read scripture and do a little bit of writing. And then we go into a time of personal prayer meditation together. Like a led one. Yeah.
I've really appreciated that.
I've really appreciated that. And it's not like we've done that concept before where we do a devotional together. This is actually what we used to do together. But now we've strengthened it,
right.
grown it. Mm-hmm. So that's a fun.
What was your
activity.
biggest challenge this week?
My biggest challenge this week was, I would say, trying to not be anxious where there is space of doing nothing.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. I can relate to that from last year.
So when I'm not scheduled, then and I know I should be more mature or whatever it is.
No.
But like even yesterday, I'm anxious. And then it's like coming up to dinner and me and Jordan are just on the couch looking at each other, kind of being like, so now what? Well, we're just waiting for dinner. And it was just like, I have this inside of me, I can feel guilty. And so then it doesn't feel restful.
Right.
So,
yeah, I went through that last year. It took me probably about 4 months or 6 months before I could sit around for an afternoon and rest and not feel guilty. And I mean, so the thing is, we can flip to the other side, right? Like, am I doing that every day? That's not healthy. Mm-hmm. If I'm not getting the things done that I need to do, that's not healthy. However, if I can't have a day of rest, but how I do that day of rest is really important too. So yesterday felt like a restful day for me, even though I did do things yesterday. It felt like a very restful day for me.
And then maybe mine wasn't a planned day of rest. It was just like I didn't do anything. Like I did this. I had a little half-hour meeting and then a phone call for half an hour. But there was no plan. So maybe that's part of it, is that non-structured.
Could be.
Yeah.
I was completely disconnected from my phone. When I was out kayaking yesterday for 3 hours, I left my phone in the car, and it turned out I kayaked for 3 hours.
3 hours of kayaking. Are you stiff today?
This hand is actually
you got a little
sore.
Hand sore.
However, I've also spent a lot of time crocheting a blanket too.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure if it's a crochet injury
You're
or
getting old people
a kayaking injury.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just kidding. It's not even an injury.
What was your greatest challenge this week?
My biggest challenge this week. So this week it didn't necessarily feel challenging, but I did have a kind of a goal to get out for more walks, and I only got out for 2. And so
you didn't exceed your goal. You didn't meet the challenge.
Right.
And so that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. And so I'm not disappointed in myself. I think that's really important, is like, I'm actually not disappointed in myself. It's just that I think it's important for me because I have I need to put some goals in place and like have an idea of like, these are the things that are really good for me. Mm-hmm. If I don't do them, that's fine, but don't just throw it out. Like
re-engage with it next week. And then, And I think that's common for all of us.
Re-engage with it tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Not next week. Tomorrow.
Monday.
Today I will actually go for a walk today. I have a walk planned with someone else. And so, but then like getting out for walks by myself, I felt is important too.
And your miniature pinscher.
Yeah. My walking buddy.
She's a good walking buddy. I'm not a good walking buddy because I'm not, I don't meet your pace requirement. And I try, like when I look at my feet going, I feel like I'm going as fast as a normal walker, but I'm a slow walker.
I have one friend who says, hey, I can't keep this pace up for very long. And I'm like, oh, hey, just tell me. Thank you. Sorry. I'm walking fast.
I could see me grabbing my scooter and scootering while you walk, but then that becomes odd for everybody. The people watching especially.
And annoying to me. Like I don't actually want you scootering around me while I'm trying to walk. Go away.
All right. Respect for others, May the 7th.
Oh.
All right. This is a quote out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous on page 74. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Our reading is, respect for others is the lesson that I take out of this passage. I must go to any length to free myself if I wish to find that peace of mind that I have sought for so long. However, none of this must be done at another's expense. Selfishness has no place in the AA way of life or a spiritual way of life. When I take the 5th step, it's wiser to choose a person with whom I share common aims, because if that person does not understand me, my spiritual progress may be delayed and I could be in danger of a relapse. So I ask for divine guidance before choosing a man or woman whom I take into my confidence. Interesting reading. There's a lot there.
This book is very AA step specific.
Very step specific. So this is on the coming out of the 4th step, coming into the 3rd step where we make a decision. We have recognized that our lives are unmanageable and we have this spiritual condition because we've been managing it. And so now we're calling into the new manager. So we actually make a decision, but we start to gain the power as we go through the process of the inventories, the confessions, the character defects, the amends, all of those things. That's where we actually get to connect through the death of self to God, and he becomes our manager. So
in that saying, so basically, am I seeking peace of mind? Do I have peace of mind?
Mm-hmm.
Am I seeking peace of mind? And then, am I willing to go to any lengths to get that peace of mind?
Mm-hmm,
and maybe AA is the way, and maybe there's a different, like, some people might be brought into AA. Some people might be brought into another
LifeLab.
LifeLab is one that we offer. There's like, there's not.
AA doesn't have the monopoly on spiritual connection. But so what this is saying is that I want to be free. And how do I do that? I do that by sharing my resentments, my fears, all of that stuff. I do like a confession, if you will. And I give that to somebody else and I give that to God. But it's important that I believe that it's what it's really saying is that it's important to choose somebody that would understand that. Right. In the early days of AA, there wasn't that many people with the understanding. So they would go to their pastor or their priest or whoever, and they would share that. But I know that now there's tons of sponsors. There's tons of people that have gone through this process. So if you go through this process, they can really help guide you to going, it's not about that person. It's about the realization that you have done. Like, we take the other person out of it, and now it's about you and about how you've been disconnected and how fear has been running your life.
Right.
And so I think it's been really good for me to understand that, working with somebody that totally understands that, and they can guide me a little bit better. And it's not just this one-way conversation of unloading it. It's about respecting others, and it's not about them. I don't have to have freedom, seek freedom by saying that they have their part and I
Mhm.
have my part.
Mhm.
So it's not really about the part that they or me play. It's about the realization that they've been disconnected from God and I'm disconnected from God. Here's the delusion. Here's the reality of my disconnection. And I've actually done these things to others and that maybe that person. And now I give that to God. And so I think that's kind of
Good.
the concept of not getting better or feeling better up on somebody else's expense. And it's important as I move into the amends part as well. Really understanding why I'm doing what I'm doing. And
Right.
it's not about the other person. And it's not about getting better at somebody else's expense.
That's great.
That's great. Anything else? Oh, I think people get this confusion. It's a selfish program. And I get what people are saying. This is like a rehab thing. It's a selfish program. But the reality, it's actually the death of self. And so in that regard, it's selfish
Right.
because I actually have to like do the work and the effort of bearing my cross to die on. And so the death of self, the death of ego, but it's not about gaining this freedom at other people's expense. So I get kind of that concept of it's a selfish program. Just like you got to put the life preserver or the air, what is that? When the plane goes down,
Yeah,
they
put your
teach
own
you to
mask
put
on
your mask
first.
on first. So in that way, it's you could say it's selfish, but that's not about selfishness.
Well, I think that selfishness doesn't serve us in life at all in any way. There's selfishness doesn't serve us in relationship. It doesn't serve us in parenting. It doesn't serve us in our place of employment. You know, if we have conflict in relationships, if we're having difficulty in jobs, that's a really key piece that we should actually look at.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Thanks for that explanation.
Have a great unselfish weekend and respect those that are around you. And I think getting intuition from God and understanding from God before you go to others and unload on them. I think that's a big respect of boundaries. All right. We will see you. Keep the peace and be of good behavior and wash those little hands. And one day